Hello and welcome to Real Hi-Fi Help. Well, let's have a look at MIT Magnum MA speaker cables. This is where I feel that for a lot of people that don't believe in cables, they should try and listen to a cable like this. Not because I encourage people to have this type of sound. I really don't like MIT cables. But, you know, I think a lot of people will want to solve their problems on a certain superficial level, giving them instant gratification. So I think that this is a video for them. This is why I feel that MIT got into a certain type of zone where they really started to change the normal sound that we hear from our speaker cables. And if you ever get to buy this used, maybe you want to consider trying it. At least if you have gear like Macintosh, Aquaphase, Pass Labs, all the usual stuff in that class, Audio Research, Krill, whatever. It's worth a try. It's worth a try to hear if it perhaps will give you the thing that you will like. And I think to a certain degree a lot of people in this world will like that type of sound. So let me just get into detail and let me just review it as if I was listening to this for the first time back in 2009 when I heard it. So, I mean, I really liked MIT cables back then. I felt that back then with the gear that I had to deal with, everything was just confusing, messy, harsh, either dark or bright or whatever. And this kind of, cut through all of that and made it accessible. So you didn't have this warm blanket of covered up detail, and it wasn't noise, harsh, cluttered up or whatever. And I feel that this is where MIT cables come in and do their thing. So yeah, I think that a lot of people, especially with their lower end gear that can't really solve problems at the core, that they want MIT cables because it just does some certain things that a lot of people find important. Now, if I were to go back in time when I had my Nakamichi amp and musical fidelity, which was really harsh, bright, and uncontrolled, it lacked a lot of that cool factor that Macintosh and upper brands like that could give you. Pass Labs, Aquaphase at that time, they were like in a completely different, unreachable level where that was gear probably costing 10 or 20 times more than I bought my Nakamichi amp for used. So then I understand that people use this type of cable because does it make a difference? Hell yeah, it makes a difference. But will you like that type of way of solving a problem? That's a different question. Because I just want to say that, of course, when I listened to it on Macintosh gear and of course later Nagra and Spectral gear, it just got a hell of a lot better. But what I want to say is that it will give you a lot of detail. It will give you a very wide soundstage. Tonality will be above average. Then there's a lot of things in the structure that I feel that a lot of people are really gonna almost fall for, I would say. So a lot of people sticking with like one or two really bad pieces of gear. It could be an old speaker, it could be a harsh amplifier, and you just want something for a certain amount of money that can deal with those problems. Then I think that MIT cables do a great job fixing that. But the problem I have with MIT cables is that you get all of this detail. You get this huge wide soundstage. You get the ease. You get the detail. You get the separation, the tonality. It's smart. It just gives you everything. But it doesn't give you the ultimate releasing of energy. It doesn't seem completely sincere and pure and untainted, and it doesn't have this type of naturally flawed type of sound. Everything's kind of put into its own separate box. And for me, I think this is a very good analogy. For me, when you put MIT cables on regular gear, it's a way of simulating the Macintosh sound, if that makes sense to you. It really is, because you're instantly creating linear detail. You're having this sort of black level type of sound where you can hear a lot of stuff in the background because you've reduced the noise floor, and there's just a lot of space, there's a lot of movement. There's this cool factor where everything becomes a bit more vulgar, and there's just this ease. Again, a lot of people really like this in hi-fi, where the sound comes out in a very easy way, so it doesn't feel like you have to turn up your amplifier to like 80%, and it's making your ears bleed. So I get that. So that's what I wanted to kind of convey with this whole video, that it is good. It's good in a very certain type of way, when you're a certain type of person that wants to have a certain type of detail. But if you're the type of person that just wants everything, not just the detail and the structure, but you want everything, the sincerity, the flawedness, the most authentic type of sound where it fully releases it, I feel that MIT cables are just, far away from that, even with their top models. And yeah, one thing you also have to realize in hi-fi is that sometimes we reach a certain type of level where you can hear so much detail that you'll accept the fact that it isn't natural, because you're getting so much information. It just floods your brain. And I think that I can easily say that happens when, especially I noticed this when I went into Spectral. Spectral is some of the best transistor gear I've heard. And I can't say anything bad about the gear. But when you combine that with MIT cables, and you then combine that with Wilson audio speakers, I mean, even though it's a very boring, analytical, unsympathetic sound, it still does detail at such a high level that your mind is just blown away, and you're willing to accept the fact that it isn't natural, it isn't exciting, it isn't lively, even though it's one of the best speakers in the world, one of the best cables in the world, one of the best amplifier brands in the world. They just have a way functioning together where detail becomes, so extreme that it almost replaces your considerations of what you think is natural. It's kind of a bit of a mindfuck, isn't it? But that's how it works. You can get detail that is so thorough and covers everything that it will have you convinced that it almost sounds natural, and you will want it. I think if anybody in the world would have the opportunity of having the most expensive MIT cables, MIT Oracle cables, and they had it with the most expensive Spectral gear and the most expensive Wilson audio speakers, I think everybody, even Audio Note fanboys and all the other people in the world, if they didn't have to pay for the system, I think that everybody would enjoy it and would accept that sound, even though it had its shortcomings on the naturality. That's just my opinion, because I was I felt when I was in that zone that that I was willing to give that up, because it's simply it's almost so bad in such a good way that you can't say no to it. You know, it's a bit like someone dropping off like $10 million and then having to sell your soul to do that. You know, I think a lot of people would kind of do that. You know, it's that good. It really is that good. And I'm not a fan of MIT cables, not at all, and also not a fan of Wilson audio speakers. But at that level, it's funny, isn't it? At that level, I would actually accept that, and I would actually consider moving away from my current audio note gear, or something that's slightly better than I have now, if I didn't have to pay for it. As long as I didn't have to pay for it. But if I had to pay for it, without a doubt, then I would keep my current audio note gear, which isn't technically nearly as good as the system that I just described. Without a doubt, then I would keep my audio note gear. But it's funny, isn't it? It's funny how that works. How you can come to accept something that you don't really like, as long as you just have it in an extreme way that's like 110%, you know? I find that funny. How about you tell me about that in the comments field? What do you think about what I just said? So, yeah, that's me wrapping up, and remember to like and subscribe. Bye.